What's up guys, Meredith with ExtremeTerrain.com, and today we are checking out the Raxium Axial Series Hyper Flash Smoked LED third brake light fitting all 2018 and newer JL Wranglers. Now if you're in search of some smaller mods that will complete the appearance of your Jeep and highlight your build to other drivers while you're on the street, this will do just the trick. Now the LED build here will offer a needed modern update to the rear end while also keeping the factory style build so you can add it to your factory carrier or anyone that accepts a factory third brake light. This will also not only match with other LEDs but also smoked accessories. Now this is super functional and stylish, but it's also going to be affordable if you want to make that difference or complete that lighting look, but you don't want to shell out a lot of money to do it. Now this right off the bat, as you can see, is going to have some pretty stealthy styling, but this is also going to stay very subtle when it's off, which is great if you're not a huge fan of a flashy third brake light on your JL, but it is going to light up super bright when you hit the brake or when this is on. Now not only will it just light up when you hit the brake, but it is going to flash 3 times before staying a steady red, which will drastically increase drivers' attention behind you and keep you safer on the road. Now it's also great for the street. If you are taking your JL off-road and there's a bunch of dust, and if you've got a convoy behind you, it is going to make other drivers or your friends behind you more aware of where your Jeep is. Now this is going to be pretty tough as far as a third brake light is concerned with the black ABS plastic housing, which is very commonly used for this type of light. It's also going to be a durable plastic material, so it'll hold up incredibly well to weather and whatever else abuse over time, and it does have that factory style texture to it, so it'll match very well with other factory components on your Jeep. Now the lens on the front will obviously be smoked here, but it will also be made of a polycarbonate plastic material, which is also tough. It's impact resistant and weather resistant, just like the ABS on the back. Now LEDs inside, however, will be the most efficient part about this setup, with a low energy drawing design to elongate the lifespan of the lighting and eliminate maintenance over time. Now the best part of all about the construction though is that this is going to have a factory style plug. It's going to be completely plug and play, making install very straightforward. Now this is about $75 as far as price is concerned, and in my opinion, it's going to be a good price for what you're getting. Now I think what shines through the most is the subtle factory styling and the sleek lens on the front that doesn't look all that fancy, which is great if you want to keep that feel, but it is going to be incredibly bright, and that flasher is going to be there when you do hit the brake. Now the flashing is something that not all options have, so if you like that extra function out of this one, and of course you want to save a few bucks compared to some premium choices that may be a little bit more flashy, then this is totally a great choice. Installing this is going to be a 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, and I would say it should take you only about 20 minutes to get the job done with a few basic hand tools. Now speaking of the install, one of our customers has actually put this on their JL, and they're going to walk you through what that process looks like, so that's going to wrap it up for what I have to say. Let's go ahead and get into the install.
Today we're working on our 2019 Jeep Wrangler, installing the Axiom third brake light. The tool we're using is a Torx Head T25 bit in a ratcheting bit driver. We're going to remove all 9 of the screws, being careful to hold on to these because we will need these for reassembly. Once we remove all 9 of these, we will be moving over to our work area to install the new third brake light housing onto this assembly. If you notice, your top screws are a little bit shorter than the bottom ones, so keep track of those so you don't have any issues when you go to complete your reinstall. Feel free to fast forward through this part. We are just unscrewing the rest of these screws. And it's definitely not something that you need to watch if you don't want to. They don't come out easily. That's okay, you can just leave them in there on the top. They will come out whenever you remove the assembly. If they fall on the ground, that's okay, you can just pick those up later. Notice this one being longer than the ones on the top. Once you get those off, this will pull backwards and come free. If any of your screws are still tight, holding anything in. Check those. You'll notice the wiring on the inside of your assembly. You're going to want to take your finger up here and pull that out. And if you can't, that's okay, because you can pull this assembly out and get a better angle at it, is probably the best call. If you are running an oversized tire with the relocation kit and the reinforcement bracket, you will want to be sure to only screw in the bottom, extending this brake light up, or you will not be able to see it over your tire. Now we're just going to work this out, get it down here at a little bit better angle, removing this assembly, putting it to the side, and then we're just going to see if we have tabs, and we do. It's on the back side, so you're going to get your finger up in there and squeeze it, pull that out, go ahead and remove the wiring. We'll leave this with the vehicle. We'll move over to our workbench. Now that we move to our workbench, we're going to take our same T25 and remove the 2 screws holding in the factory light. Pretty simple process here. We're gonna set those screws aside because we will actually not be reusing the factory screws. I would recommend holding on to them though. You never know when you might need a random screw. Now that that is off, we'll save this for later use, put it over to the side. Now that we have the factory housing removed, we're going to install the new housing using the provided screws and a Phillips screwdriver. Just going to line these up, hold it in place, and screw those in. We will do the same thing on the other side. Once we get that completed, we will be ready to move back over to our Jeep and work on putting everything back together and buttoning this up. Now that we're back to our Jeep, we're going to plug in the factory harness into the new housing. Notice I'm trying to do it backwards and it will not work that way. This will prevent you from installing it wrong. Once you get that in, just going to push it up until you hear the click. Make sure you have some tension. I would highly recommend at this point that you pause and you go into your Jeep and push on the brake to make sure that your brake light works. And we're going to test that now. Perfect. Working as designed. We're going to move back and ensure that we have our wiring clipped in place and ran as it was before so that we have no issues here. You're going to continue to ensure through the process that you don't crimp that wiring up on anything and that it stays safe. Then we're going to move back with our other piece, work on lining these up well. Make sure your wires stay in place while you do that. This is just going to kind of snap in place like so. Should hear a nice little click as you go around. We're going to get that line back up where we had it. Then we're going to start the process of reinstallation. And remember, when you do this, your bigger screws go on the bottom, your smaller screws are going to line the top. We're going to start down here so that we can lock this in place and it doesn't wobble on us. And again, you may not have it lined up at first, so you will just have to work with that until you have it in the perfect spot. There you go. Once you have that tight, we're going to move over to the other side. Make sure that's lined up. And we're going to screw that side down as well. All right, that's great. Now we're going to move our way back to the top. We're going to take our remaining 2 longer screws, put those in first in the bottom. That way there's no confusion here. You don't get them in the wrong spot. Overall, this is a pretty easy install. I would say that depending on how quickly you work, the hardest part really is getting ready by taking off your big heavy back tire and wheel, which the instructions for this say to have completed before you begin the install process. Just a note, you definitely would not be able to do this if you did not take off there. If you're running a factory setup for your back wheel, that'll be much easier. But most Jeeps have big off-road tires and those kind of get heavy over time. Especially if you get the big 10 plies like what I have. Don't recommend trying to lift those on your own. When you're screwing these screws down, you can over torque it if you're not careful. So just be sure you get it nice and tight, but don't overdo it. You don't want to strip out any of your screws, or even worse, the housing that they reside in. We are complete. Everything is nice and installed here. Super simple process, highly recommended. This looks way better than the factory red. And the little flashing at the beginning is a really nice safety feature to make sure that people know where you're at. Thanks, everyone.
So that's going to wrap it up for my review and the install of this Raxium Axial Series Hyper Flash Smoked LED third brake light, fitting all 2018 and newer JL Wranglers, and you can find this right here at extremeterrain.com.